Welcome to the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong, and today we have another fascinating guest. He comes highly recommended by a lot of people all around the world, especially those who he's been able to help become more and more successful, those high-performing entrepreneurs and high achievers who he's been able to help destroy their internal resistance, helping them rewire their lifelong patterns, and of course, helping them create success that's not just visible, but also unshakably aligned. His methods are grounded and practical and built on the belief that your current situation, results, and circumstances are just a reflection of your past decisions and not your potential, and that your beliefs are just a decision that can be redecided. So please welcome mindset strategist, coach, speaker, and also the author of the book Mindset Breakthrough, Mr. Jim Huntzicker.
Hey, Fong, thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. Always enjoy having people like you on the show. First off, we're just going to jump right into it. How did you become this mindset strategist expert that's helping people kind of rewire themselves to become better?
Well, I was trying to fix myself is how it all started. I was telling you a little bit about before the show, but I walked away from six profitable businesses. They didn't go poorly. They didn't start losing revenue. I just walked away from them. And I talk fast, which you'll realize I'll try to slow it down for everybody, but that's a challenge for me. But
I have the
but
same problem.
Yeah, I know. So maybe we can just play this at like 0.75 for everybody when you play it back, and it'll be perfectly sound for most people. But anyway, so I walked away, and I wasn't conscious. I wasn't like, these businesses I could have sold. I could have sold lists that I had. I could have sold the business. I was in the top 1% of 8 real estate agents nationally, and I just stopped, right? Like I was building a team, and I just said, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I was flipping houses. They're all in the real estate business, but I was a real estate entrepreneur. I was flipping houses, doing really well, just stopped. I created an online info product for real estate investors. I sold it 800 of them. It was $1,000 product. I just stopped. I said, oh, this is not for me anymore. And after the sixth business, I started another business, and that went well until it didn't. And that one, all the money I'd taken away. And for me, that was like God saying, or the universe, if you're not into God, whatever, was like, hey, you weren't paying attention in the first six, so I'm going to take all your money away, so I have your attention now. And so after going on a 2-year soul searching journey, I didn't expect it to be 2 years. But to figure out why I kept doing that, like why am I closing down businesses? Why am I walking away from money? And what I realized is from growing up, I had this deep-seated fear that money causes conflict. And so in my adult head, I was not conscious of this, but I was walking away from money because me growing up, money was always a problem. We grew up super poor. My parents were alcoholics, and they fought like crazy about money. We were homeless when I was 4. I had to move in with grandparents. Like we did not have a place to stay, but like we didn't have our own house anymore. And then my parents quit drinking. My dad made an incredible financial turnaround. He went from driving limos and laying concrete to owning multiple gas stations and a real estate office by the time I was 10. But my parents never stopped fighting about money. Now the money was there. Now they're fighting. The money's causing the problems. And then my parents got divorced when I was 12 because they just weren't meant to be. But the point is that in my child mind, I associated money when it wasn't there, conflict, problem. Money when it was there, conflict, problem. Money causes problems. So I've been married 20 years. I have 2 amazing kids. What I was doing all of those times, I was making sure I keep my family together, and I didn't fight with my wife because we get along fantastic. And so I didn't know that. I didn't realize that, but that's how I got here. Is I'm going on a journey to figure out, why do I keep walking away from money? Like, why do I hate money is what I was telling myself. So that's how I got here.
That is incredible. Now, with regards to that, like, what was the what was that instant where you go, okay, I need to make that change about my thought of money? And then how did you attempt to do it? Because it's one thing to say it, right? It's another thing to actually
Very.
actively and do it. And when you start, and one of those methods, from what I understand, is the once you announce it to the world that this is what I'm going to do, then people are going to, oh, okay, that's what you're going to do. You hold yourself accountable. But especially this topic,
Yeah.
people are going to like, are you crazy?
Yeah. So have you ever watched The Office? There's a funny Office episode
Yeah.
where Michael, of course, is talked to Oscar, the accountant, and Michael, like, because of his girlfriend, he's got to declare bankruptcy, and so he's like, he doesn't want to do it. And he walks out of his office and he yells, "I declare bankruptcy!" And then Oscar, like, the next scene is like him, like, well, you gotta do some, you gotta like actually file a thing with the court. Yeah, like there's stuff to do, and like you don't just. And that's what's funny about that's why it reminded me of that, about what you just said, because there is so much internal work. It's like this, like people that have addiction issues, for example. people say, I want to quit drinking. Like, I'm going to quit drinking. And then they just don't, right? Consciously, they know it's not healthy for them. They see that it causes cancer. There's no benefit to it. There's, only downside to drinking, right? And, but they're subconscious. They're usually they're the alcohol is a solution, right? Like any addiction is a solution. And they're not dealing with the reason they're drinking. And so that's why they don't stop, because they're not dealing with the internal issue. Money's no different, right? Like, so you could say, like, okay, now I know that money, I get along with my wife. I know that doesn't cause problems anymore. But until you inform your subconscious of that, like, here's another example that of like another, because I had my money beliefs were so deep. That's why it took me a while to figure them out and get them out. Because I used to, while I was making a lot of money, I was doing great. I would see like somebody in a Range Rover or a Rolls Royce, and I would automatically say rich jerk. Now, at the time, I wasn't thinking about it. But once I came back to my money reflection in my my couple of years when I was doing soul search, I realized, like, well, here I'm trying to get wealthy. I'm trying to and I'm saying rich jerk when I see a Rolls Royce or a Range Rover, or, a high-end car. Obviously, my subconscious is never going to let me be a wealthy jerk, because you're not going to be somebody you don't like.
Right.
So what I realized is also from growing up. So I told you the story about how I grew up with my parents, but if you the TV shows we watched growing up, if you were poor growing up, the only exposure you had to wealthy people in most cases was going to be TV shows, right? And that was me, right? I didn't have any exposure to wealthy people at all except on TV shows. And in the TV shows we watched growing up, like MASH, Gilligan's Island, it's still present today. It's still the same thing. The people you love in the show are usually the poor people living in scarcity, living check to check, usually drinking a lot. Those are the people you associate with and you like. They're funny. They're, so that they're the characters you grow to love. And then the ones you hate in those shows were the wealthy people. They were the jerks. They were mean to the people you liked. They were mean to the people that were like you. And so you grow up watching these shows, and you grow up to resent wealthy people. And if this is not, you're not saying like, but this is all you know, right? And as an adult, all the wealthy people I've met are incredibly gracious and generous.
Yeah.
So I don't think that, right? But I was still seeing cars that were nice and be like, look at that rich jerk. And so I had to override the programming, because that programming was super deep. And I'll have some frameworks today to do it. But the reason, if you have a desire to get somewhere, right? Like you're here and you want to get there, whatever it is, relationships, finances, health, whatever. The reason you're not there is because of the resistance you have internally to getting there. Meaning you have stories you tell yourself, beliefs you have that say you can't do it, right? And so there's 4 layers of resistance. And first one is limiting beliefs, surface level limiting beliefs. It's like that's super easy. I'll give you a framework in a couple minutes here to get rid of that. Knock it out. It's super easy. Now the next one is a little harder, and those are resentments. And the resentments are challenging to deal with, because a lot of times we've been pushing them away our whole life, and they've just gotten bigger and bigger. And they're so big now, it's like it's daunting to even comprehend dealing with. But you're never going to get to where you want to go until you deal with those. And then you got this core limiting belief, your core limiting belief. So there's surface level limiting beliefs, pretty easy to get rid of, pretty easy to find too. The core limiting belief is kind of like a marriage of your parents' limiting beliefs. If that's who raised you, or your primary influences growing up, you kind of pick up, let's just say it's your parents, you pick up a little bit from your mom, a little bit from your dad. It's kind of a marriage of theirs. And both my parents grew up in scarcity from how they grew up. They brought scarcity into how they raised us. And so we lived in poverty, and we got scared of money. We got scared of wealth. And so the last one, though, this is the one that trips up even the most successful people. Like even the people I work with that are doing really well, they haven't dealt with this one, and that's being enough, right? Even though they've done a lot, they've accomplished a lot, they always have had this internal voice saying, who are you to do this? You're not enough. Right. And we all have that voice. Like, who do you think you are? You can't do this. It's a self-sabotage. It's the imposter syndrome. Right. And so those are the 4 layers of resistance that are holding us back from getting what we want. But here's the clincher. The surface level limiting beliefs, we'll do a decision director. You can write it on a piece of paper. You don't need to download anything, and you can get rid of those. But the core limiting belief, the one that's causing the most problems in your life, and those problems usually start between the ages of 35 and 55, mind you. So if you're going strong, you're like, oh, I'm good. All of a sudden, it's like, for me, it was at like 32, right? I was a little bit of an overachiever. I started to really hit a wall at 32, and it just kind of, I didn't really figure it out until I was like almost 40. But that's where the wall started. And so it's because, you're programming the stuff you thought was going to happen, how you thought life was going to pan out, doesn't work. And you go into what's having like a midlife crisis, but it's not a midlife crisis. You know what that is? That's a breakthrough trying to happen and you're stopping it, right? It's not a crisis, it's a breakthrough. You're realizing that all these programs you have from a kid aren't real. And so they're trying to break free. It's not a breakthrough, it's a breakout, but you're stopping it and then you never allow it. And you do have a breakdown because you don't allow it. Right. And then you go buy a Corvette at, 50 years old because you're like, oh, I got to do something. And so the belief structure we have from that we decided before we were 8, that's what's causing the problems in our life. And the core program that this marriage of our parents is anchored by resentment. And so people are like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait a minute. So I got to figure out this core program. This is me. Like this is so if you're thinking this, you're right. And then you got to figure out the resentment you have that's anchoring it down before it's going to stop messing with your life. And the answer is yes. And they're easy to find. I couldn't find them. Like I was not good at it. Details were not a strength of mine, especially details of my own self, right? I think a lot of people have trouble with that. And so here's a real easy way. Like, so to figure out your limiting beliefs, here's a super easy way. I teach things that like there's 2 states of being. There's powerful states of being, where you feel good, clear, energetic, enthusiastic, resourceful, and like great, you feel good. And then there's primal states of being, where you have fear, stress, anxiety, and so you can't be you're in one of these at the same time. Or one of each. You can't be in both at the same time. So you're either like right now you're listening to this, you're either like, wow, this is amazing, I can't wait to learn more, or you're like, who is this guy? Who does he think he is? Right? Like you can't be in both, right? So you're either receptive to learning and powerful, or you're like, who does this guy think he is? Tell me about my limiting beliefs, like because I know what and so. But here's the thing, wherever you go primal, fear, stress, anxiety, that's where your limiting beliefs are buried. There's a story in there you're telling yourself that's making you angry, that's making you fearful, that's making you stressed out. And so start paying attention to those thoughts and writing them down. Like whenever you get stressed what are you thinking right then? Is it about money? Is it about relationships? Is it about your health? Like whatever it is, there's a fear buried, there's a limiting belief buried there. And so that's how you get to the good stuff. And until you uncover that good stuff, you can't start fixing it, right? And so for years, I went to Tony Robbins. I love Tony Robbins. My first event I went to in 2011, I didn't know what I was going to get out of it. I quit drinking. Like I drank a lot, but I was pretty successful. So I felt like, and I hung around people that were more successful than me, that drank more than I did. So I was like, oh, these guys are. One of my buddies drove a Ferrari back then, and he was killing it, but he drank like a fish, like crazy amounts of alcohol, and so. The first Tony event I went to, I'm like, he's like, pick something you don't want to do in your life anymore. I'm like, all right, well, if I didn't drink anymore, I eat poorly. I was really overweight then. And so I picked drinking. I never drank again. I was like the craziest thing. Like I didn't even think I could stop drinking. I didn't think that was possible in my life. And I never touched it again. And then I lost 60 pounds. But I attribute all of that to Tony Robbins. But I never got to my limiting beliefs with him. Like part of his segment at UPW event, which I love Tony. This is not slight. He'd be like, all right, let's knock these limiting beliefs out, right? And he's like, all right, write them down. And I'm like, Mother, I don't know what they are. Like, let's go into detail about how to find them. And he does a mass scale, and he does it. So once I learned the powerful and primal states of being, and that all of your limiting beliefs are buried in your primal, everything changed, right? Like that's where I discovered everything is in those 2 states of being. And the name of the game is you're gonna go primal every day, but it's not living there, right? Like somebody punches you in the face or something like that. That's unfortunate, right? Like you're gonna like not be happy with that. But for how long, right? Do you let it affect you for a day, a week, a month? Does it become your personality? Like how long do you let a negative event affect you to where it becomes who you are? Like Joe Dispenza, fantastic. If you don't know who he is, we don't have time to get into what he does now. But he always says your personality creates your personal reality, meaning who you have allowed yourself to become based on your experiences creates your personal reality. Because we all see through this 88% filtered reality, meaning
Right.
neuroscience tells us that we only see 12% of what's going on around us. I learned that. I'm like, wait, what? Like that's the craziest thing to me. Like, right. But it's because of our beliefs, right? Like we filter out most of the stuff that's going on around us. We know for a fact that we do that. And so because we do that, like how do you see differently? Well, you change your belief structure. And so we'll get into that in a few minutes.
Awesome. You just mentioned about how like how people just get fixated on that primal action sometimes. Like when you said, "Hey, if somebody punches you in the face, how long do you let that affect you?" I find that a lot of people are so fixated on that negative stuff. They let it affect them. They get pissed off. They get frustrated, and it takes a very, very long time for them to kind of get over it. And even if they do get over it, they bring it back up once in a while, and they live in this state of like anger and all that. How does one reduce that timeline so that, oh, it doesn't affect me very much? Like, how do you practice that so that, oh, once I get punched, I'm fine, kind of thing. Well, maybe not that instantly, but anyway.
Yeah, it is. It is like so. Like it would take like getting punched in the face today would be very different for me than it was 5 years ago.
Mhm.
It's because it's a decision. You're consciously saying, okay, I'm primal. I don't like this. It's well, let's give new meaning to the situation, right? So this guy obviously punched me in the face. He's very upset about something, and probably with me, or maybe not. Maybe it's got nothing to do with me, and he just didn't know where to let his anger out. And I was the one in front of him. Like I always tell people that get like get road rage or get like angry at driving, well, he cut, like, who does he think he is to cut me off? And I used to be this way too. But I'm like, he doesn't care about you. It has nothing to do with you. Watch him. He'll go cut off three more cars while you can still see him. It's got nothing. Like, why are you making it about you? Right? Like, just like, oh, that guy's obviously having a rough day. Like, I wish him all the best. Actually, send him love. Right? If you just drive around cutting people off, like because he's having maybe he's on the way to the hospital. Maybe he's on the way to care for a loved one. Maybe he's on the way to do something terrible to somebody, and you don't want to mess with him anyway, right? Like you got to so why would you live in the emotion of being like letting somebody cut you off and then like getting angry and going cutting him off, right? Like, does that do any good? Like, give the meaning a good situation, give the situation a new meaning, a good meaning. Like, oh, this guy's having a rough day. I'm glad I'm not, right? I'm having a good day, and I'm going to keep up with that and keep a smile on your face, right? Like why we give meaning to things that doesn't serve us is the craziest thing, Fong. Like, think about it. Like something happens to us, and I don't care how bad it is, death. I mean, stuff that's terrible. We all have terrible stuff that's happening in our lives, and lots of terrible stuff, not one thing. But why we give it meaning that doesn't serve us, that brings us down. Every time we think about it, we get sad. Every time we think about it, we get mad. Every time we think about so we get addicted to negative emotions, right? So people think like, well, I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I'm good. Like, I don't have an addiction issue. Really? How often do you scroll on your phone? Right? How often do you binge shop or binge watch TV? Right? You get addicted to people. You get addicted to negative emotions. And so that's why people live where they do, and their personality becomes like, Debbie Downer or somebody who's always angry because they're living in the emotion from the past. They get addicted to the feeling. And even though it's something like they'll say, I don't want to be stressed. I don't want to be angry. Well, it's where they're comfortable and familiar. It's the exact same reason like athletes lose $300 million. Like they made 300 million in their career and they end up bankrupt. Or let's even forget about athletes, even guys that make 30, $40 million and then end up going bankrupt, right? Like that we see those stories all the time. And the reason is they were never comfortable with the money. What they were comfortable with was the way they grew up, living in poverty, being in debt, living check to check. Like, even though it's what they don't want, when they say, I don't want to live check to check, I don't want to live in poverty, I don't want to live in scarcity, it's where they're comfortable because it's what they know. And so
Right.
they go back to their comfort, even though it's what they don't want. And so the same thing with negative emotions. People get addicted to these negative emotions. It's become their personality, and their personality. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, why is this always happening to me? And because you're inviting that into your life, because that's all you're focused on, right? When you're focused on bad, you're going to find it. But when you're
Exactly.
focused on good, you'll always find that too, right? We're only as good as the stories we tell ourselves. This is everybody, right? So like our thoughts aren't neutral. They're commands to our subconscious, right? So like when you say I am not, right? I am not this. I am not that. Whatever it is, you're telling your subconscious, okay, more of that. It says you're not this. Okay, I'll make sure that's true. Now, let's say you're not good with money. You're not good at reading. You don't have time to work out. That's what you keep telling yourself. Well, instead of saying you're not good with money, you're learning financial. Like you say, oh, I'm learning financial literacy. I'm not. I was never taught that growing up, but I'm getting better at it now. I'm working on getting better at reading. I'm not a good reader because if you say that, it's going to be true, right? Or if you say I don't have time to work out. Well, then you're not going to see opportunities like taking the stairs as a chance to burn some weight or to kill some extra calories or parking at a spot in the back of the parking lot. You're not going to see that because you don't have time to work out. So the extra 50 steps you would get each way parking in the back of the lot, you don't see. We're all only as good as the stories we tell ourselves. And so you got to make sure there's stories that count, that serve you, right? Like no matter what, no matter how bad it is, like even with death, like okay, like the death sucked, like live there for like so for me, primal. Like with something bad, I'm like 90 seconds, right? Like literally. I'm like, I'll sit there, I'll live there like this sucks. Cry if it's something that's sad, that it's emotional. And then be like, all right, we got to come out of this because living here is not going to do me any good. Let's give some good meaning to this situation. And so that's the name of the game in life is assigning meaning to things that serve you, right? Because it's a choice. And if you don't choose, our minds are defaulted for survival because this goes back to like caveman days, right? Like, so our minds are defaulted for like, running from saber-tooth tigers and stuff. And so since our minds are wired for survival, they automatically go to the negative. That's the way it is, but you could override it.
Right.
Like here, this is going to be worth the cost of listening to this, right? Which was nothing, but labeling thoughts in facts. Like this takes no download. You can just do it right now. We all have messed up thoughts. Our thoughts aren't our own. That's a story for another time. But the reason you're having all these, you're observing your thoughts. Like you're the conscious observing your thoughts. And this gets super deep, and we're not going to get there now. But when your thoughts come in, and especially the messed up ones, you're like, why am I thinking that? Like, say, what's just a thought? Like literally in your head, like this is a thought. This is not a fact. What I do believe is this. And okay, say that. And something comes into fact. Oh yeah, that's a fact. You store that in the fact department, and then get another messed up thought. You'd be like, oh, that's a messed up thought. Like I don't believe that. I don't like that. Store that in the thought department. And here's the thing: if you get the same messed up thought over and over, like we all do, because this are stored in our subconscious and our memory, and you label as a thought after about 20 times, 25 times, which could happen in a day or a week, whatever. Your subconscious is going to override that thought. Now, that's not the end of it because you have lots of messed up thoughts, and you're going to have another messed up thought and another one, and you can override those every time they come in. And that's the name of the game is overriding these negative thoughts every time they come in, because right now you're letting it affect who you are as a person. Because you're like, because you're not your thoughts unless you allow that to be. And so when you label your thoughts as thoughts and facts, it changes the game. Like it literally, you're like, oh, it's a messed up thought. I mean, why'd that even come in? But because you're thinking your thoughts are you, right? Like you're like, oh, well, that must be who I am because I'm thinking that. And so like if you get into like spirituality and like what consciousness actually is, you'll realize your thoughts aren't your own. And if you want a fascinating take from a cellular biologist, have you ever heard of Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton?
Not yet.
Fascinating. Like so this guy was a cellular biologist, studying, I think it's like somewhere on the East Coast, big time, school. This is in the 70s, studying cells of our bodies and like nucleus and like atoms and like stuff that is like if you go to YouTube and type Tony Robbins, because Tony Robbins did he has his platinum partners, they pay like 150 grand a year to be in his thing for a year, and he brings these incredible guests on, and he just started publishing their talks. And so Bruce Lipton, Tony Robbins, go to YouTube, Tony Robbins, Bruce Lipton. It'll come up. It's a 2-hour thing, and he talks literally from the cellular level, like down to like the inner core, like how our body operates from biology, how our thoughts create our reality. It is mind blowing. Like highly, highly recommend checking that out. But what you'll learn from that, and what you'll learn from listening to guys like him who are cellular biologists that have turned teachers and even become spiritual, is that your thoughts aren't your own. And so like stop like beating yourself up about what you think. It's not yours. They're not. And you'll see from science, and we have like because now they're like they used to read these, I think it's EEG machines. EKG is for your heart, EEG is for your brain. And they hook up something to your head, right? And then it could literally read the different parts of your brain. Well, now guess what? They have new machines that are more updated and more sophisticated. And guess where the probe goes? Nowhere. They can read the stuff happening in your head and or around it without touching you at all.
Oh
And what does
wow.
that tell you?
It's all out here.
It's all out here. It's the craziest. Like it's so crazy. But again, so I spent 2 years studying, right? Like thank God I was in a position to do that. Um, but what I learned with it is that your thoughts aren't your own. So what you learn that, and once you realize that, it changes everything. And so then, but even if you don't know that, you could real simply label your thoughts as thoughts and facts. It's really easy to do. And every time it comes, like you know, messed up thought, you're like, why would I? Nope, that's just a thought. So messed up thought, I don't believe that. What I do believe is this. And then just do it as much as you need to. And you'll override those negative thoughts. Your subconscious will get to know, oh yeah, this is not, we don't believe this. This is, and it'll go away until your next messed up thought. But
I think
go
I
ahead.
think a lot of situations and individuals would be in that scenario and go, well, they think it's a fact, not a thought, right? They believe
Yeah,
something to be so true that it must be fact. And then they'll go and ask other people, and go, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I was like, oh yeah, that's totally true. That's totally true. But in fact, it's because they all think that way, and or they're looking for more support of what they think is true,
100%.
right?
Like,
So how do you find out, okay, if it is in fact a fact or just a thought that has no meat to it?
well, so these are belief, right? These are beliefs,
Mhm.
and so we decided to believe most of them
Yeah.
before the age of 8. But it's I mean it's really simple. Like the if it's something that brings you primal, right? Which is what a lot of like these negative bad thoughts or messed up thoughts are. It's not true. And if you really analyze what it is and review it and say, okay, let's unpack this, and you say, do I really believe? No, I don't believe that it's not true. So you'll figure out if you analyze the messed up thought that it's not true. Now, if you're just like well, anything since the internet, you could find strong views either way on anything, right? Like, and you could find neutral, strong this way, strong that way. That's all intentional, by the way.
Yep.
There's stuff like if there's something too far this way, somebody's going to write something to just be the opposite of that, so that there's confusion. That's just part of our reality today. But because fake news is real, whether you like Trump in the United States or not, fake news is a real thing with or without Donald Trump. I mean, he's just the one that kind of talks about it more and brought it to the mainstream. But that's been a thing since the 60s when the CIA was creating fake news. That's real. And there's classified documents that have been declassified now that talk about all that stuff.
Mhm.
But it's not true. Like if you really dissect it, you'd be like, this is not true. And so that's how you can decipher, right? If it's something that's really messing with you, or it's something a really deeply ingrained belief that that is causing anxiety, fear. Like so many people have this.
Yep.
When you really break it apart, it's not true, right? Like, and what is true? Well, what brings you to a powerful state? What makes you feel good, energetic? Like aligned.
Mhm.
What brings you back there? And so dissecting the thing on your own and like for your own use, is this true? And it won't be,
Right.
right? And here's a great way to for these beliefs. Like, this is a framework you can do right now. You don't have to download anything. You get a piece of paper. This is to dissect limiting beliefs and change them. You take a piece of paper, draw 2 lines down the middle, make 3 columns. In the left column, you put your existing limiting belief, right? We just set out to find those. Every time you go primal, start dissecting your thoughts there, right? Start writing them down. Just every time you feel stress, fear, anxiety, those are your limiting beliefs. Your stories are buried there. Pay attention to your thoughts. So write down your limiting beliefs. That's in the left column. In the middle column is a new empowering decision. And what that is you have to overthink this. Like, let's just say you're bad with money. I'm not good with money. That's a belief you have because you just never have money. Well, it could be the opposite right now. You don't have to like overthink it. The new empowering decision is I am good with money. Um, and then in the column on the right, you put evidence of that new decision, right? Like, and if you look for the good, just like you'll always find it. Like maybe there's micro little examples. You always find money on the ground. You're able to save, $10 a month. Like I'm not talking about crazy stuff, but like if you really look, you're like, oh, I am actually good with money. I could get better, but I am actually good. And then here's the key is once you write that down, you could have, so you have one limiting belief, you have a new empowering decision, and then evidence. There could be 3 or 4 for each one, and you might have 10 on limiting beliefs. This is not
Yep.
one, but what you do then is take your phone and go to the voice notes and forget about the first column because that's old news. You go to the new empowering decision and you record that, and you record all the evidence of that too. And now this is in your voice. And you listen to that 3 times a day, in the morning, night, middle of the day. And here you are literally reprogramming your subconscious with your own voice. It's incredible. Like that's part of how I did it with money. Mine, I was so deep, like my stuff was buried so deep and so tied to like resentment and like way. It took me a lot of work to get out because I had to figure out how to let go of the resentments. Like that was the hardest part for me. And I we this is a little more complicated, but a framework to get rid of resentments is real simple. Like, how do you know they're there? Well, think about your beliefs from growing up. Where do you get angry? Like, they did this to me. There's your resentment, right? Like I don't even if you love your parents today, it's not about not loving your parents today. Like some people say, well, my mom's my best friend or my dad's my best friend today. Like I don't have resentment. You do. We all have it from growing up. Like there's stuff that happened to you you didn't like. You heard stories, you heard fights, you heard things or saw things you didn't like. All of us have it. Nobody is immune to this. And so until you deal with it, it's going to hold you where you don't want to be. If you're comfortable where you are, fantastic. But if you're trying to get somewhere you're not, this is part of your problem is letting go of resentment. So you got to name the resentment. This is a 5-step process to get rid of it. Name the resentment, and then you got to feel it. And that most people don't like to feel it, right? Because they've been avoiding it for so long, and it's so big, it's going to hurt. But you have to just for 5 minutes, sit there and cry, or feel it, be angry, be pissed off, whatever. Like you've been avoiding feeling it because you don't want to feel uncomfortable. And then you do a cost benefit analysis. Is it worth, does it benefit me to hold on to this? And of course it doesn't. Because holding on to a resentment is like eating poison and expecting the other person to die, right? They don't care. They're not thinking about it. Like they may not even know what they did to you, right? And this is not about letting them off the hook. We're not going to apologize to them. We're not going to talk to them. This is letting yourself off the hook, right? So you do a cost benefit analysis and then you assign it a new meaning. Give it a meaning that serves you, no matter what it was, right? Like why would you give it a meaning that every time you think of it, it brings you down and makes you mad? Like, why would you do that to yourself, right? Like, think about you can assign a meaning that serves you, and then the last thing is let it go. Like literally, I will do this to this day, and here's the thing. So you gotta let the bad stuff go, right? Like literally go let it pass through, and then you like feel a weight lifted. When people I work with, when I do this work, their face looks different after we go through this process. It's the craziest thing. Like but letting it go like this is so powerful. But here's the craziest thing about letting stuff go is so this stuff we've been resisting forever, right? And so it's causing problems in our life because we have been resisting dealing with it. But how about this is the kicker? You could also create major problems in your life trying to hold on to the stuff you do like. And everybody's always like, wait, what? Okay, let me give you an example of why we'll call this clinging, right? So you're resisting problems, but so does clinging, like this. You go to the beach and you see the most beautiful sunset you've ever seen in your life. Like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is incredible. I'm gonna hold on to this forever. And I'm gonna go to the beach next time, and I can't wait to see the sunset again. And the next time you go to the beach, what happens?
It's
It's
not as
over,
amazing.
it's overcast, right? And you're let down. And now you go primal from this thing you love. Now you're still at the beach. It's still this awesome moon scene shining on the water. You see the ocean. It's incredible in its own right, but it's not the thing you were clinging on to. And now you're let down and you're primal at the beach that you love, right? Where if the first time you said, look at this amazing sunset, I can't wait to see whatever this is next time. And you go next time, like, look at this incredible overcast. I can see the moon and the reflection of the water. This is amazing in its own right. It's not the pastels I saw last time, but that like I already processed that. Done. So clinging, and this I learned from Michael Singer. If you ever heard of Michael Singer,
Yeah.
he wrote The Untethered Soul and the Surrender Experiment. It's where I learned surrender, right? Because surrender is alignment. It's not weakness. But most men think surrender is like I did, is weakness. And surrender is just you're just surrendering things to align yourself with who you actually are. That's where I learned that from, and it was very powerful. Because when I heard that too, I was like, wait, what? You can't even hold on to the good stuff? No, you just experience this experience, good, bad, let it go. Because as soon as you let it go, it can't affect you anymore, right? The bad stuff is primarily but the good stuff messes with you too. So just experience it, let it pass through. And so that's like that. So the limiting beliefs, that's the decision director framework, those 3 columns, like that is a game changer for your surface level limiting beliefs. And you'll figure out your core limiting belief you'll find the same way, right? You'll find with when you go primal, it's just deeper, right? Like you'll see a pattern. If you really look at your limiting beliefs, you'll find a pattern. And mine was about money. Mine was pretty obvious, and big ones are like walking away from profitable businesses is crazy, right? Like so when I look back, I was like, oh shit, there's mine, right? Like mine's with money. Let's dig into that, and then I came to find out through my studies that most people, like 80% of people, have major money issues from growing up. Like only the people that grew up in the 5% to even 1% of wealth, they because part of passing down wealth is not just money, it's knowledge, right? And so if you didn't like get past the knowledge, you just got given money, you weren't given true wealth. You were given maybe a problem, right? Because if money is still problematic for you and you have a bunch of money all of a sudden, it's going to be a problem. It's not going to be a good thing. But if somebody taught you how to be a steward of money and what to do with it and what money really is, then that will change the game for you. And there's a couple of books that if money is an issue for you and you're like thinking you need to understand money better or you don't, there's a guy named Garrett Gunderson. He wrote two books. One's called Money Unmasked. He wrote a couple books. Money Unmasked, Killing Sacred Cows, which killing sacred cows are just money myths. And then he also wrote What Would the Rockefellers Do? Because if you know the history of the Rockefellers and how he built his wealth and what he did with his money and how he did it with trusts and how he did it with LLCs and how he hid himself in shelter, it's absolutely mind-boggling for the time in history he did what he did. I mean, he set the stage for the way wealth is passed down and generated today. But those books will change the way you view money. And I needed to view money differently. I didn't have any financial education growing up. I didn't go to college. I went straight to work at 14 and I worked full time all the way through. And so I never learned about money. I didn't know that I needed to, right? Like I was making money, I was doing great, and I just kept going from business to business. But here's the great thing, Fong. What that taught me is that money's easy to make. And if you heard that just now and you're like, no, it's not, you have a limiting belief buried there that says it has to be hard, right?
Right.
Somebody taught you growing up, your dad, your mom, grandpa, whoever, that money is hard to make and and you have to work hard in every day. Because I had that problem too. While my dad did really well, he worked every day, he was never around. So when I became an adult and I started working, what did I do? I worked every day and I wasn't around, right? Like I was at Remax in 5 years. I won their Lifetime Achievement Award. The average agent I didn't even know. They sent me a thing to come to award ceremony. I was like, I didn't even go because I was like, whatever. I didn't realize I had won a Lifetime Achievement Award in 5 years because that the average Remax agent gets it in 18 years.
Wow.
And I got it in five. And this is not a brag because I don't think what I did was great to get there. Looking back, I was married. We didn't have kids yet. I worked every single day for 5 years, like 7 days a week. I was always gone. I was at the office till 9 o'clock at night. Like I was killing it. I was in the top 1% of agents nationally. And the problem is how I got there. And so I didn't know any other way.
Right.
And so that's why I kept walking, like I walked away from that business because I built it the wrong way, right? Like if I look back and once I really analyze stuff, like I didn't like it, right? And so the money, I was chasing money and missing the point is I guess what I realized. So lots of people have that issue. And here's the thing, even for the 20% of people that they figure out money or they learn about money or they get money, money is still problematic to them, right? Like they haven't figured it out. And so until you realize like money just, amplifies peace, love, security in your life. Like until you really have a fundamental understanding of that, money's going to be problematic for a lot of people.
You mentioned a few times how you went through this process, right? You
Yeah.
you realized what the issue is, you targeted it, and you put in a lot of work so that you could get your mindset changed or rewired to think the positive and all that kind of stuff. Now, I also mentioned that there's a lot of people out there who are, stuck in their own fog, right? You're able to overcome that by recognizing it and then putting the work to fix it. Some people are so in their own fog they don't even recognize it.
Yeah.
So is this
Most.
something that yeah, most people are. So is this something that people have to find out on their own time and in their own pace? Or is it best for them to reach out and work with somebody who's outside of that box that they're stuck in to kind of show them the way to kind of guide them along this process of either finding their limiting beliefs and helping them rewire it?
Well, like anything, if you want to get somewhere faster, find somebody who's been there before, right? Like, so like with coaching, I mean, everybody, every major athlete, Tiger Woods, his prime had five coaches,
Mhm.
like, so everybody has a coach and they get somewhere because if you want to get somewhere faster, hire somebody who's been there. It's that
Yeah.
simple. And so, I think doing some initial work on this to say, like just start noticing when you go primal, like that's where you start, right? Before you hire anybody, like you really got to have a basic understanding that, okay, I do have some stuff that I don't like, and start becoming aware, because awareness is the first step. And then you're going to go hire somebody who can help you. Like, you know, by the time people come to work with me, they're usually in a bit of a crisis mode, right? Like, guys are doing, like, guys that are making millions of dollars a year, six, seven, eight-figure earners, but they're doing coke in their office every day, right? And their wife's divorcing them, and they got kids, and the thing is the same. Like they what they realize is, okay, I obviously have an issue, but they don't know what it is, and they were good at making money, but they left everything else, and that happens so often. And here's the thing that I asked them. The first thing I asked them is, "What do you want?" And they're always like, what do you mean? I expected more. They expect a deeper question, but that's actually quite deep because it's like, out of life, what do you want? Like, where are you going? Like, what are you passionate? What's your purpose? Like, you have any meaning to your life? Or are you just making $10 million a year being miserable? And because doing coke in your office does not sound like a happy person, right? Like, and getting divorced when you have two kids doesn't sound like somebody who's happy. And so what are you after? And so if your business is not your passion or your purpose, it's okay. Just go start a charity or go start volunteering or go start, you don't have, like, if your vehicle you've already started is massive and it makes you big money, great. Just start doing something on the side. Go volunteer, start a charity, go start giving back. If your business is what your purpose is, and even better, right? But it doesn't have to be. But you need a purpose, you need a direction, you need meaning for your life, or you're going to implode it. And so, like there, I have guys that make, eight figures that are in the process of imploding. Like they're about to give it all back because they never did this work. They weren't comfortable with the money. Like that's when people come to me, is when they're in a bit of a crisis or a crisis. I mean, I prefer to get them before the crisis, but that doesn't usually happen.
Right.
Sometimes, the guys realize that they're like just spinning their wheels and it's not quite a crisis, but they're just not getting any traction. Like that's ideal. But guys that are coming in a crisis, we can fix that too, because all it is, it doesn't matter how big of a, the income is or how big, whoever they are, it's the same thing. They don't have meaning, right? They don't have a purpose for their life, and so they're imploding it because if you don't have a map for where you're going, you're just living in chaos, right? You're not going anywhere. And these guys don't have a map. They never created one. They just their focus was money, like a lot of guys, like a lot of people, and they missed the point, right? Like because money is not the answer. They realize they got multiple houses, multiple cars, fly private, and what? Like they're doing coke at their office every day. Like that's not happy, right? Their wife's divorcing him because they're not fulfilling at home. They're not being a good husband or father. That's not happy. But he's making $10 million a year. That's not the answer, right? So what is? And so like the answer is not walking away from the money. Sometimes maybe it is. Like if you realize that's not the right thing and that's controlling everything. But really, usually all you gotta do is just find a purpose for your life. Like start doing something good, start giving back, start volunteering, start doing something that gives you meaning. And so that's the really the first step to all of this is awareness of your own situation. And when you focus on your primal stuff, and start really writing down, when you go primal, what your thoughts are, all your limiting beliefs, your core limiting belief, it's all buried there,
Right.
all of it. And so that's where you start. And then once you have a baseline, um, hire somebody. Go find a coach, go find a group, go find a mastermind, go find an event. The only problem I find with events, like Tony Robbins, again, I love him, but like, you're at his event and it's like, oh, you come out of there like, oh, and a week later it's like, wah, wah. Like it just the inspiration dies quickly and the
Yep.
motivation dies quickly. But having a weekly meeting or a mastermind or a coach or whatever, that's how you keep on. You got to keep reminding your subconscious what you're trying to do. And so it's no different like what we talked about at the beginning with your thoughts. Like this is a game of progress, not perfection. There's no end game here either. There's no destination. This is a lifelong process. Like this is a way of being. This is just the way you live. This is the way you view life and problems and things that come up. It's assigning meaning that serves you. And it's when you go primal, it's not living there, and it's moving back to powerful as soon as possible. Like that's the name of the game. Like that, and it doesn't like every day I go primal, like every single day. But it's usually 30 seconds. If it's a major thing, it'll be 90. But I'm done. Like because it's like because what good does it do to live there? Like if you go primal and you're super angry, you're super anxiety, you're super stressed, is it doing you any good? Like you're giving it a bad meaning.
Right.
Give it a better meaning. Give it a meaning that serves you, and it'll change your life, right? And so these frameworks, like that's what the book Mindset Breakthrough, it's only 66 pages because originally I made it as a PDF to give to my clients to give them the basic frameworks, the basic fundamentals for what I teach and how. And we go so much deeper than that, in my group coaching and one-on-one, we go like we take those things as the baseline and go way deeper. But you got to have a baseline of where we're starting of the fundamentals, and that's what the book is, Mindset Breakthrough. You can get it on Amazon, and so I wrote that for my entrepreneur and high level clients for them to get the point. And so like I have my buddies, like my buddies that never would have read this stuff, like the big tough guys. They're like texting me like, dude, I had no idea you knew this kind of thing, and I didn't know I needed it. So thanks. And I'm like, yeah, I can put that on Amazon as a review, please. But they won't because they're showing vulnerability then, which it's good to show vulnerability. Like we need to do that as men.
Mm.
But we were taught like from early age, especially in the US, they needed soldiers, right? So before World War I, soldiers don't kill people. Or I'm sorry, vulnerable people with emotion, like sensitive guys don't kill
Mm.
people.
Right.
So they had to condition men to kill. And so that's why we as here we are in 2025, and we men are afraid to show emotion and be vulnerable is because we are programmed from a long time ago to kill. Like
Right.
that's no joke. That's real psychology that really happened, and that's why we still feel like this today. And so like of course they're better like texting me like I didn't know I needed this and thank you, but they're not willing to like open up about it yet.
Mm.
But that's what the book is. The book is just, it's super easy to read. It's frameworks and it lays the groundwork for this work. And if you've never done this work, you need to, or you're going to be miserable. You're going to be unhappy. You're going to be stressed out, anxiety. And here's the craziest thing. Like, people that are depressed even. Like, have you ever met like somebody who takes a pill every day? Like,
Mm.
have you ever met somebody that is on antidepressants that's not still depressed? Like, this is the craziest thing, but they are. Because think about this. If every day you said, just like I am not, right? We talked about the I am, I'm depressed. I'm depressed. I'm depressed.
Yep.
If you say every day you're depressed and you take a pill to confirm that you're depressed, guess what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Depression
Yeah.
or depression.
Yep.
You're never going to get away from it because I'm depressed. I'm depressed. That's why people taking antidepressants are still depressed because I'm depressed. I'm depressed every day. Think about it. It's the craziest thing. But when you think about the cycle, like the cycle of behavior psychology, we have, beliefs. It's a circle. This is how everything, we have beliefs. Beliefs, create thoughts. So beliefs, thoughts that create feelings, emotions, that create actions, that create results. And guess what those results do? They reinforce the original belief we started with. And it goes on and on and on until you change the belief. That's where it all starts.
Mhm.
So your beliefs are not fixed. They're not solid and unchangeable. You just decided to believe them when you were a kid, and you can decide to believe something new now that you know something is different to be true, right? But you have to go through a process, right? So now I see cars driving down the road that are high-end cars, and automatically I say, look at all the abundance. Where, 10 years ago, I would be like, rich asshole, every time. Like it was the craziest thing. And now I see it like, oh, look at all the abundance. It's amazing. So when you change these filters, when you change your beliefs, you'll start literally seeing things differently. Like your filters update and you start seeing clearer and clearer. And the definition of epiphany. All of a sudden you'll be like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I don't see that the same way anymore. Like for me, it was never more glaring with high-end cars. Like that was like my crutch was that all, even though I'd done a bunch of money work, I was still saying that. And then it wasn't until The decision director is how I got away from that, like the way that framework I just walked you all through. But it was deep. I had to listen to that thing for like, probably a month. That rich people are incredibly gracious in my experience. They're not rich jerks, and so and I was also a thing about kids, like we our kids are really we have really good kids. We've worked really hard at that, and I didn't want to have like spoiled entitled kids because in our family we have some money, and the kids are spoiled entitled. Like I'm like I don't want my kids to be like that,
Right.
and so I was trying. So I had a belief that you had to not have money to not have spoiled entitled kids. But you just had all you had to do was have money and teach kids values, right? That's it. But if you don't teach them the values, you're going to be spoiled entitled kids. So it's really interesting. But and we can go on and on and on about
Yeah.
all of these topics. But like the point is that all of your beliefs are decisions you made and you can decide to believe new ones. You're not locked in. You just need to focus on when you're primal, when you go into a negative state of mind, it's fear, stress, anxiety, and start paying attention to your thoughts there. That is where all of your limiting beliefs are buried. And that's where all your problems are buried. Because once you start assigning new meaning to the things like even those that send you primal, even death, like you could if you're looking for good, you'll always find it. So that's why I like gratitude, right? I start my day with a gratitude journal. And since I've been doing that, it's been, years now, but it's changed my life because here, the first thing I write for me, it's about God, right? So I write, Dear Father, thank you for. It can be, thank you for, or I'm grateful for, whatever. Don't get weird if God's not your thing. You don't have to get weird about it. Like there's, like we know from modern science and neuroscience and technology that there is a force, whether it's God or not to you, there is something else guiding things. And so, but what was I getting at there? The oh, grateful today. And then the second thing I write is a negative event that recently happened in my life that good came out of. Right. So for me, I'll often write COVID because so much good came from my family out of that time in history. Like it's incredible that if I look back, all the good that came out. Now it sucked. Like going through it obviously wasn't
Yeah.
great. Nobody had a good time during that. But if I assign bad meaning to that, does that serve me? And if I look back, genuinely, so much good came from my family out of that. I put my kids in a Christian school, I like it, which was incredible for them. My family started attending church regularly, which we didn't used to. Like so, and I can go on and on. But the most glaring thing was uh, putting my kids into a godly environment where they've thrived. And so it was incredible. But I assigned good meaning, but also like stuff that's bad, that genuinely is bad, death, like but giving it good meaning. Like, my wife's father passed away unexpectedly recently. And because of my work, well, of course she wasn't happy. Of course it was a hard time in her life. But I'm like, babe, you just got to right away find a way to give it good meaning. You had a great dad. He was an incredible person. He was like, he was one of the most, ethical, honest person that I personally knew. So that was true. I'm like, so why not just like the legacy your dad left of examples and like let's think about that. Like let's think about all the good he did in his time on here. Like not think about him not being here anymore. That's sad. That sucks. Like we don't want to live there because that does suck. Like and so why would you want to live in the suck? Like let's live in the memory of what an awesome man he was. And so like literally like she went from I let her be sad. Like she's got siblings and her mom. And so I just gave them space during the time he was passing. But afterward, as soon as he was gone and she was home and she was crying again, I'm like, all right, it's time to give this new meaning. Like, let's sit down and give this a better meaning because when you think about your dad, you're thinking right now, you're thinking about him dead in that bed, in that, like, you're visualizing that. And that sucked. Like, I was there, I obviously was there and I thought, I'm like, that is not something that's ever going to serve you. Like, let's scratch that memory because that's not something we need and let's go back to when let's remember all the good he did and what a great dad he was. And to her face, like, literally lit up. And then we started talking about good times and she started smiling, right? She went from like, crying super sad, which, justifiably, to smiling, laughing because we were talking about what a good man he was and all the good he did. So we gave that a good meaning, right? And so it's not about not living, like remorse. Like obviously that sucked that her dad died and he died early. He was in really good health. He had a surgery that went terrible. It sucked. But living there is not going to serve you any good. So
Right.
give it, you find a way, all right, feel the emotion, feel the pain, because you got to process that. Like if you just don't deal with it, that's not good either. Feel the pain, cry it out, and then, all right, let's assign good meaning to it. And ever since then, ever since that day, my wife and I went through that process, she looks back at her dad and she just has the greatest memory. She doesn't get sad anymore. right? So like his celebration of life was actually last weekend. He died about 3 months, 4 months ago, and the celebration of life was this past weekend. And my wife, she told the kid, she's like, it'll be a happy time, but you might see me crying. But she never did cry because all what she had, because me and her went through the process of installing good memories and assigning good meaning to her dad's life and death. So when she thought about her dad's death, she never went to see him laying in that bed incapacitated anymore. She thought about all the good he did growing up and all the good stuff he did for, because he was a coach, he was a teacher, he was a great man. And so she remembers all, she chooses to go to that as her memory, and she smiles, right? So we're all only as good as the stories we tell ourselves. Like make sure that they're stories that count.
That is very, very powerful stuff. And thank you very much for sharing that. I know it's one of those stories that's probably very tough for you to share, but it's one of those stories that probably helps a lot of people out there who may or may not be facing the same situation. So thank you very much for that. And everything you talked about today, you made this interview very, very simple because you were able to give so much great information, so much great wisdom that will help people in the long run. Recognize those limiting beliefs, take action on those kind of things. And a lot of people just don't realize that they're stuck in their own fog. And by listening to what you're saying, it really does help people. Hey, start asking those questions. Ask yourself what is going on. Ask yourself what do you want better, and that would probably start the ball rolling at least. So much appreciated. The time has gone by very, very fast,
It
and
has.
you're definitely somebody I would love to have on again because we could dive into a whole bunch of other stuff.
We
But
could take this
before,
in so many angles, and we should, right? Let's do
yeah.
this again another time, and then because we can pick an angle for your audience and just go down that rabbit hole. This is kind of a broad spectrum. We can go. There's many ways to take this because this is like again, this is not like there's no destination here. This is the journey of life, and it's how you assign meaning to your life. And so that's what this is. It's assigning good meaning to your life, and you do it over and over and over again. It's a practice,
Yeah.
right? It's not a one and done. It's not a destination. It's a way of being.
Exactly. So, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
My website. I'm not on social media much. I do have social media, but I like you should, unless you're making money on social media, you shouldn't be on it more than once a week for like 20 minutes. Like this nonstop hours of scrolling is
Mm,
causing so many problems in your life. Like if you have problems, you have fear, anxiety, comparison, all these issues. If you have major like fear, anxiety, and stress, and you're on your phone for over 10 minutes a day, but most people are on for hours, that's your problem. Get
mm,
off social media. So you can go to my website. My book is available on Amazon. If you go to Amazon, Mindset Breakthrough, or go to mindsetbreakthrough.com. And my
mm.
website's jimhuntzicker.com, JIMHUNTZICKER.com. You can fill out a comment card there and jump on a call with me. I do one-on-one coaching. That's my primary business, and I do group coaching. And then I speak on stages just like this, just to help people and give back. And because before I was like, once I was done with this, I'm like, all right, do I go back into real estate? When I would like realize, okay, like, but I was just after money then. I was chasing money and missing the point. Like I'm like I have all this knowledge. Like I did it to help myself, but now I'm going to help the world, right? And so that's my vision of the future is to be a force for good in the world and help 10 million people become a better version of themselves. Like that's it. So everything I do, every email I read, every piece of copy I write, everything I do is me saying, okay, like do I love doing like some of that stuff, like reading email or writing email copy? No, I don't. But it's part of the vision, right? So once you have a vision for the future, you just do, right? You just and nothing's like, oh, I don't want to do that. That's not I'm beyond that, or nope, none of that. It's all part of the vision. It doesn't matter, right? Like because you have a goal, you have a map, you're headed somewhere. So that's what you need. You need to have a vision, and you need to go after it. If you don't have that vision, that is step one.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much again. Everybody, make sure you reach out to Jim, get his book. If you found this interesting and exciting, I'm sure having a direct contact with him would be absolutely amazing and awesome. And also, his book's going to be able to unlock so much things in your life. So make sure you connect with him and also pick up his book. And until next time, he's Jim. I'm Fong. Today is the day to unlock your peak potential. We'll see you later.